Five Nations champions, and it's now 10 years since Wales last won at Murrayfield. Mark Ring was part of that victory. He was at the game yesterday. We'll have his thoughts, along with those of David Watkins and Alan Phillips. The match first, though, the Royal Bank of Scotland International. Commentary from Brian Price and Eddie Butler.
Gary Jenkins quickly takes the line out. Derwin Jones high above the blue shirts, but the referee not happy with the throw-in, calling for the players to keep the space. Still, Gary Jenkins to throw again. Derwin Jones wins it second time. Jenkins takes it standing still. Emil Lewis, the number 8, straight through the heart of the Scottish midfield, 10 metres short of the line. Robert Jones on his own, is through for the try. Robert Jones, in the opening moments, has scored for Wales. A fantastic moment for the Swansea scrum half in his 51st cap. His 4th try for his country, and it's Wales who get this game off to a marvellous start.
And then it was that short ball from and beautiful little feed from Nigel Davis, bringing Emil Lewis onto that short pass, drove in, good tackling, but what a ruck this was. No forwards picking this up. Robert Jones picked it up. There was a huge gap in front of him, and what a dream start. Here it is again with Emil Lewis this time. Good body angles, evaded one tackle. Look at the room he had before he came up against Kenny Logan there, and then Hemi Taylor, all the forwards driving over, leaving it as they should do for the scrum half to pick up.
You can just see the delight on Robert Jones's face there. He doesn't score that many tries, but when they do come, he relishes every second of them. Neil Jenkins with a simple conversion, and there's no way he's going to miss that. A flying start for Wales.
And that's Neil Jenkins, his first points at Murrayfield, would you believe? That's hard to believe, isn't it, out of all the games that he's played for Wales, scoring his first points at Murrayfield, and what a start for Wales.
The target, Gareth Llewellyn. Perhaps too obvious the lifting there, yes. Free kick, not so much against Llewellyn, but against his lifters, and some back chat from Wales, and Scotland can take the game to them through Peters. Peter Wright takes on Hemi Taylor, goes a yard past him. Good rucking by Scotland. Chalmers, Scott Hastings back, support from Peters. Redpath now goes to the left-hand side. Chalmers. It's more ruck ball by the Scots. Number 8, Eric Peters again involved, and Wales offside at that final ruck. It's another penalty for Scotland, so after the dream start by Wales, Scotland have responded, and they've enjoyed total possession. That's much better struck by Scotland's captain, and Scotland are on the scoreboard. 3 points against Wales's 7. Neil Jenkins. This time he makes the kick go far enough, but it allows Scotland plenty of time to regroup. Chalmers, again, the high kick towards back. It's paid no dividends so far, and this time back has claimed it on the bounce. He kept cool under pressure, but he's been turned in the tackle. And Wales are offside. Gary Jenkins at the ruck, spotted by the referee. Offside after Matthew Back had fumbled the ball. Fullback claimed it. The ball went forward in the ruck. Gary Jenkins offside.
Well, I think the referee was a little harsh on Gary Jenkins there. He caught the ball, Matthew Back, at the second attempt, but Scotland in very quickly with that ruck. Gary Jenkins, perhaps, yes, he was arriving from an offside position. I think that may have been accounted for it. He did a lot of this against England, killed a lot of the ball, and gave a lot of penalties away as well.
Hastings, they didn't seem to strike it that well, but it's through the middle. And Scotland are back to within 1 point of Wales, 6 points to 7. Llewellyn up. This time the direction to Robert Jones much better. Midfield, Hemi Taylor. It's slow ruck ball, but Wales still have it. Jenkins again looking for the probing kick behind Ken Logan. Plenty of time for Scotland, though. And Logan has sliced his kick. Neil Jenkins with Robert Jones. There's plenty of support around Jenkins. He chooses Gareth Llewellyn, the second row forward. A sidestep from Llewellyn takes him through. Tackled by Morrison, but Wales still going on, but there's been a knock-on. But just when it seemed that Wales had chosen one of the slower men, it all opened up, and very deft footwork from Gareth Llewellyn. There he is, number 5 for Wales, a sidestep. This is the two-man situation from the line out. This time Wales go wide. Mike Hall, half a dummy, sidesteps inside, looks for support. It's not there immediately, but I just thought the referee was going to penalise Scotland for playing the ball on the floor there, but instead he's given a scrummage to Wales. It's still a good attacking opportunity, but a clean break by Mike Hall back in the Welsh centre.
Good options from Wales that time. They had the two flankers out there, but Nigel Davis didn't want either of those. He wanted Mike Hall, who stepped back inside into acres of space.
6 or 7 metres out. The scrummage goes low on this side again, but Wales have kept it solid, and this time they're lying a lot flatter. Jenkins back from fullback. The ruck set up, good quick ball. It's Emyr Lewis again. Wales drive on through the forwards. Neil Jenkins, Wayne Proctor from right. Ieuan Evans against Kenny Logan. Well tackled by Logan, and Scotland claim the ball. And it's Wales who have to backtrack now. Robert Jones, first man there. Tackled by Morrison. Scotland, Doddy Weir. Tackled by Jenkins and Evans. Redpath waits. Chalmers sees room behind Wayne Proctor, but back should be there first. He is, and Wales launch their own counter-attack. Proctor. Gavin Hastings with Rob Wainwright. Hastings, will they counter-attack now? They do indeed. Doddy Weir, he's got room. To Logan. Logan against Gareth Jenkins. Outside Jenkins, now against Derwyn Jones and Robert Jones, through Robert Jones. Eric Peters, the number 8, is clear, and it's going to be a fantastic try for Scotland. From 122, clean to the other end of the field, and Scotland's number 8 is over. Exhaustion on the face there by Eric Peters, but it's his first try for Scotland, and Murrayfield comes to life.
That's what they all came to see. They knew that it happened in France, and Kenny Logan was put away here, only opposed by Gareth Jenkins and Robert Jones. He went around one, inside the other, and then he was looking for support. And watch Eric Peters. He couldn't believe it that he had the open field in front of him to score the try.
Gavin Hastings adds the 2 points, and for the first time in the match, Scotland take the lead, 13 points to 7 after their first try of the match.
And I don't think we'll see a better try, or who knows, we may see a better try in this match, but this young man, Logan, there, look at the strength in him to stay on his feet, waiting for the Bath forward to come to him. Once he broke through that final tackle, well, was it a tackle by Derwyn Jones? Not much of a tackle, and he was in for a try, which he's celebrating early.
Scotland on halfway. Again, it's the back row who pick up the scraps after the elbowing in the middle of the line-out. Chalmers. Another brilliant catch by Matthew Back, but the Scots now have Wales under pressure. Redpath. The ruck set up by the Scottish forwards. Chalmers has to go right, and he has straight through the middle. Support from Peter Wright from the front row again. Redpath looking for an outside half replacement, who is Gregor Townsend, and he starts to weave through the Welsh defence. More support from the Scottish forwards. Redpath, and it's Chalmers again on the blind side. Craig Joyner, a solid wall of Welsh defence. Scotland recycle. Kenny Milne. Redpath again. Wainwright trying to go straight through the middle. Another good bit of Welsh defence, and still Scotland recycled. Chalmers. They go for the rolling maul, 5 metres out from the Welsh line. Redpath sells a little dummy, tries to go on his own, held up a metre short. That's Dave Hilton, and the try has been awarded. This time there is sheer joy on the face of a man scoring his first try for his country. It's Dave Hilton who scores Scotland's second try within moments of scoring their first.
Well, I thought Scotland had overdone all this. Redpath really had the ball in his hand several times, looking to get it out, but Scotland all the time wanted to keep it close and driving, good driving indeed there by Scotland, and Hilton taken over the line by several of the Scot forwards.
A total contrast of tries, the breakout from their own 22 on the counter-attack, and this a series of concerted close-range efforts from the rucks, and it just shows that Scotland have a complete game plan. Sweetly struck by Hastings, an extra 2 points. And the scoreboard suddenly rattles up to 20. And 13 points is a big, big gap now for Wales to recover from. Number 7, Richie Collins for Wales, Ian Morrison in the blue for Scotland, and the sleet starts to come down on Murrayfield. Good catch by Derwyn Jones. Wales through Gareth Llewellyn now, try to go forward, but he's upended. Neil Jenkins back in from good dummy running by Wales. Ieuan Evans in from the right wing. Ieuan Evans is through, he's got Proctor outside him. Joyner with the interception, and now Scotland have a chance to counter-attack. There's nobody back for Wales because Matthew Back was on a decoy run. Hemi Taylor is back there. Confusion just for a second, and it's Robert Jones who sorts it out.
You must believe when Ieuan Evans was making that run, I don't think he looked at who was marking his opposite number. Lovely movement here, Mike Hall. Ieuan Evans in from the other side. Look at the speed to get through there. Now watch, I don't think he saw the winger there marking Wayne Proctor.
Quick ball off the top by the Giants' second row. Nigel Davis cuts back towards the forwards. Instant support from Mike Hall. Gareth Jenkins tries to absorb some of the Scottish fringe defenders. Now they go wider. Inside to Collins. The operation continues to suck in the Scottish tacklers. Loose ball, and now Scotland have reversed the trend, and it's they who pour forward. Redpath. Room behind, but the penalty has been awarded against Wales. And just when the Welsh forwards seem to be setting up 2 or 3 nice little ruck situations, instantly Scotland got in there, stole the ball. Emyr Lewis disappointed, and a cheer goes up because Gavin Hastings from inside his own half has indicated that he's going to kick for goal. Hastings of Scotland, as the snow comes down on Murrayfield, has it got the legs? Oh, it's a wonderful kick by Hastings. He even applauds himself, but it was a great kick by Scotland's captain, and the lead now becomes a vast gulf because Scotland have gone into a 23-7 lead. Robert Jones waits. Mike Hall, the long pass. Ieuan Evans against Kenny Logan, steps inside. Good tackle by Logan. Wales there in numbers. They're having to go backwards, but they still have control of the ball. Jenkins, Nigel Davis outside him. Jenkins goes on his own. Kenny Milne kills the ball at the ruck. Scotland's hooker clearly killing the ball there. The professional foul, give away the penalty rather than risk giving away the try.
I would agree with you 100% there. That's what they were doing. They didn't want the ball to come back in that area, and I believe that Wales will be forced, although Neil Jenkins is coming up, to take the penalty. I would perhaps thought they would have tried to run this, and certainly the crowd. And Neil Jenkins, for the first time in an international. Was that a little punch or a slap in the face of Gavin Hastings there? But Neil Jenkins, for the first time in international rugby, I believe, has taken more on himself in this game than we've seen from him for a long, long time.
Jenkins collects the 3 points for Wales. And Wales are in double figures. And this is all important. There's still 18 minutes left to play. So anything can still happen. Scrimmage again goes down.
That has been a very, very poor area of play in this game, and the referee has given several penalties, not really picking up who's doing it, though. The penalties are going to Scotland, then going to Wales.
Hushed Murrayfield awaits Neil Jenkins. Good kick at goal. Beautifully struck by Jenkins. And Wales are nudging towards that Scotland total, and things are certainly looking better for them. Robert Jones, Ian Evans to chase, hasn't really gone far enough. Peters gets underneath it. Offside. Wales not retreating. Big gesture of complaint by Wales's captain, but I think it's the forwards really. They were still within 10 metres. Hastings looking to punish Wales, has done it. And all those little lining up for the ball and all the long waits and the long pauses and all that putting yourself in the black box, it works because the standard of place kicking in world rugby is now so high. Jones feeds. Wales through the midfield. Nigel Davis held. Sets up the ruck. Richie Collins first there. It's another ruck. Stolen by Scotland. Now there could be danger for Wales. Doddy Weir. Picked up by Kenny Milne. Scotland's forwards on the charge. And now the three quarters. There's men outside here. Gregor Townsend. Hastings outside him. Flicks it inside. Chalmers. Good tackle by the Welshman when there was an overlap on there, although Wales are still under the cosh. Logan inside, picked up by Campbell. No emergence of the ball. Wales killing it at the ruck, and it's a penalty to Scotland. They've shaken off their lack of concentration. He's just pushed it now. It's not long enough. Back. Jenkins. Wales trying to run from deep. In a pickle, and there's real trouble now. It's a race between Jones and Scott Hastings, and Robert Jones wins it, but Wales really didn't look as if they knew what they were doing then. Just 2 minutes left to go. The game really beyond Wales now, and Scotland will just want to seal a great victory with another score. Eric Peters, who's had a storming game at number 8 for them. Peter Wright, good pass out of the tackle by Wright to Doddy Weir. Weir holding the ball in one hand like an egg. Driven on again by the Scottish forwards. Wales in some disarray. There must be men over. Redpath can't go. Can't release the backs. Goes on his own. And really that saved Wales, I think, although they were offside. Redpath couldn't release the backs because Wales were offside, and they'll have a penalty.
You're right there that a lot of the Welsh forwards were standing around there, and Brian Redpath had to run around them. Look at this now, great ball coming here. Little forward, slip pass by a prop forward, Peter Wright. Here's Doddy Weir charging on. He's looking to do the same thing. No one close enough to him. And then the ruck came in here, and there are still lots of Welsh forwards behind that ruck, and really Brian Redpath had nowhere to go. But he found a little gap in the end, didn't he?
We were so looking forward to having a good win. I mean, we needed it badly. I mean, I can't explain how much we really needed it. I mean, the boys' morale was superb before the match, and we've lost now, so we've got to go back and pick the pieces up, as they say. But no, I feel there was a good few things that came out of the match. I mean, from my point of view, I mean, I can't remember that much about it because it just happened so fast. But you know, I'd like to look at a few things on tape and see where we can, you know, where we can improve, and personally, just see where I can go to take you that step further, you know.
If we do get any criticism after the day, it'll be very disappointing because I thought we played some superb rugby behind today. We moved the ball very well. We made you know, numerous breaks. I think me and Rob made 3 or 4 together, as well as, you know, trying to get Yai and Wayne into space as well. So all in all, I think we did move the ball very well. But then again, you can say we didn't score, you know, the points that were there for the taking. We didn't quite get. Always the last pass was going astray, or we knocked something on, or the last ditch tackle by Scott. But that's the way things go. Obviously, I think we've got a lot to look forward to, and I think we can work on that before the Island game.
We'll have a long, hard look at ourselves and about that, you know, and we'll be very self-critical. We'll be particularly honest, you know, but we need to clean whatever we possibly can from that. You know, the backs, I thought, made a couple of telling runs, you know, and in certain aspects of the game, we got some momentum going, but we need to continue that for 80 minutes. We lost a little momentum after we scored. We have to maintain it for 80 minutes.
We wanted to start well. You know, we started particularly well on the day, and as you rightly say, perhaps we did fall off it, and for the rest of the game failed to get anywhere near the abilities we showed early on. So deeply galling that, but that's life, and fair credit to the Scots. I think I know it's a cliche, but you know, you have to give them credit. They did play particularly well.
Was there anything that particularly disappointed you about the way the Welsh team played today?
Oh, a number of factors. I think, you know, we need to be analytical rather than just general at this stage. I think we need to have a bit of distance and a bit of information, stats-wise, and to be able to analyse correctly. But we certainly dried up in certain areas of possession winning, and our sort of ball retention in second phase was particularly poor today. So some big areas for us to work on.
I thought when we started the game that we're actually going to put in place you know, very much what the team have been working on, which is to generate some quick ball and create some space for the backs. I think in part we did that, but we certainly didn't develop our continuity and support play, which has got to be a key thing for us, particularly against Ireland and in the World Cup. What we need now is a massive boost of confidence so that the team can actually believe they can play and their talent will come out.
So one win could change the whole mood?
Yeah, I think Scotland have proved that. You know, the Scotland hadn't had a win for 10 games, and then suddenly they got a win, and now they're on a roll. Looking forward to going to Twickenham and, you know, playing for the Grand Slam. I mean, it's the same type of thing that happened to us last year, down in the dumps, a good win. We desperately need to turn the corner.
Well, that's 5 defeats on the trot now at Murrayfield for Wales, and we've got Mark Ring, Alan Phillips and David Watkins with us this afternoon. Alan, let's come to you first, because I think general consensus with everyone this morning was that the battle was completely lost up front, and the Scottish forwards gave the Welsh boys a bit of a lesson there.
Well, certainly I think that Gareth Jenkins must be bitterly disappointed with the performance of the Welsh pack. Certainly didn't look like a pack that's been coached by him. Showed lack of commitment and art, and people running around doing things off the cuff, which I'm sure they haven't trained about. And I felt as if we were a bit like headless chickens up front.
David, what disappointed you most about that performance yesterday?
Well, the modern terminology now is drift defence, and I think, quite frankly, in attack we drifted all the time, and as a result of it we never went forward deep enough. Not only did we not go forward deep enough, we didn't support the man with the ball, and Scotland supported the man with the ball. We were isolated. Neil had 1 or 2 breaks. Ian Evans went through, Robert Jones on numerous occasions. No support, no backup. No foresight by the players themselves, and I thought that was bitterly disappointing. They've been together a long time, these players. They should know exactly what to do without having to be told anyway.
All right. Mark, had you been wearing the number 10 shirt, and give Neil Jenkins praise there yesterday because he tried his heart out, but you would have found it difficult to have played the game or stamped your authority on it because of lack of quality ball.
That's right. Well, Neil Jenkins has showed in glimpses yesterday, you know, that he can make those breaks. But unfortunately, the front 5 as a collective unit were woefully slow to arrive at certain second and third phase situations.
OK, well, we can actually indicate that, the lack of cohesion with the Welsh forwards. And Mark, you can take us through this with the tap penalty from Robert Jones. Take us through this.
Yeah, Robert was one of the great successes yesterday in a bad game. And we got Hemi Taylor going in and setting up the ball. And there were 1 or 2 players arriving a little bit late there, too many gaps.
If I make that in there, Mark, also you see the Yuccas taking on backs ball again, whereas if people watched the French game yesterday in Ireland, the French forwards were creaming people off and leaving it to the scrum half.
But I think if we'll just pick up the point now, I think who's just arrived, I think we'll circle Gareth Llewellyn in a very, very strange position. Now he's a tight front five forward, and that's an incredible position for him to be in. And I'm just wondering whether it's a set ploy that's being brought in by Alan Davis.
Well, Alan, but that's something that you mentioned there that should have been coached, that should have been learned, surely.
Well, I think that that was just off the cuff, that people didn't react to what was going on around him. Emmy Taylor drove in well. The tight five should have been with him and cleaned up the Scotch boys and leave the ball for Robert. We've got too many people looking for the ball instead of doing the hard work and taking people out the way.
David, a point that the Scottish forwards were marauding, they were scavenging, they were everywhere. What happened to the Welsh boys?
I don't really know. I mean, the thing is this, they talk about the amount of time now the players do that they have to spend away and that they have to get together and they have to train. And one wonders at the end of the day when you saw as Mark pointed out, the lack of commitment of players to get to the place where the ball was. Scotland fought for everything. That was a passion and an ideals that we had as Welshmen over the years. That would come out irrespective of whether we had any skill or not. But we've always been blessed with skill, and suddenly it's all going away from us. It's a little like painting by numbers at the moment. We're all waiting for the colour to come, and we don't quite know where to put it.
OK, well, let's look at one of the specialist areas where there were a few problems, the line-out. And Mark, you can talk us through this one.
Well, this is a very, very bad ball off the top. I think we're getting a little bit over the top with this off-the-top ball in defensive situations. I think it's great in certain situations in attack, but unfortunately that didn't give Robert Jones any chance.
I'd like to step in here also that we've fetched Derwyn Jones in, and he played quite well against South Africa. And Derwyn has been helped well in Cardiff with the support either side. And they've got this new lifting technique which they use well, and he's got it off with the hooker there. I'm amazed in the last two internationals we've started off the game by doing short line-out. Although we scored off one yesterday, I think that was through bad Scottish defence in general. But we need to get an 8-man line-up with Derwyn in the middle and get the Welsh forwards driving at the heart of the Scottish and taking it to the Scottish back row, sucking them in to do a bit of rucking and then moving the ball. We're not doing it, we're just taking the ball off the top, and it's easy enough to defend against.
David, things were happening behind the scrum, though, weren't there? Mike Hall had a couple of good breaks. Ian still showed his pace.
Well, yes, we did. The unfortunate part about it is that, you know, people complain about Neil. I mean, the boy does more tackling than any outside half I've ever seen playing the game of rugby football, quite frankly. But the thing is this, that he stands, he's very predictable. He's standing now out, and when he dropped one pass early on in the game, it was really because he was moving away from the ball at the same time. And because he stands in a predictable position all the time, it means everything has to go the one way. Whereas I would have thought it would be better for him to move around on the back and to take the option of going down the blind side, take the option of going the open side, chipping over the top, and bringing a variance into a play, which I'm sure he can do. And it's amazing. We have players the likes of Gareth Edwards, Phil Bennett, Gerald Davis, J.J. Williams. These players ought to be in schools. We have a great nation of rugby players, people who know all what the game's all about. And I would have thought we should have invited them in and had one-to-one situations where the boy could have been told and advised. You don't have to take it all in because everybody is dying to get at you to tell you exactly what you should and shouldn't be doing. But at the end of the day, then you have to take in what you think is best for you and then do the things that come naturally to you. And we don't seem to be natural enough, quite frankly.
OK, well, let's just show you an example of what you were saying there, David. Some of the passing, which leads to some discussion. Mark?
Well, again, it's great ball off the top. And this is a superb pass from Robert Jones. Actually, a flat ball put him outside the wing forward. But Neil's obviously taking it standing still there. And it's perhaps a bit of a lack of communication as well, whether Robert is finding with the correct pass. A good example of Neil on the break. And I think someone needs to straighten the line-up here. And Mike Hall really, I think, should come back and straighten that line-up. And I think it's, I mean, he needs help, you know, sometimes when he makes a half break and when he needs a winger to come back on a good angle. And I think if we can just run it on, there's almost a 4-2 situation there, and the whole thing is wasted. Now, this is very, very late in the game, which, you know, didn't matter really. The result was already gone. And but this is Neil taking the ball, standing still, and just a coaching point there. He swings his whole body, which puts the pass behind Nigel. I mean, you've got to keep your shoulders out in front of you there. And it just makes it so, taking the ball standing still just makes it so easy for backs and back row forwards to defend against.
Alan, how did you see the scrummages?
Well, if we can make a point there with Mark, that yesterday I watched every scrum, and the quickest the ball came out, I counted up to 8 seconds. On some occasions, it went up to 14 seconds. So I was amazed that we were struggling in the line-out, and we had a few scrums in the Scottish 25. We didn't hit Channel 1 ball all day. And on Channel 1 ball, Robert Skye, they got a dive pass to get away quick. Then you got your outside half running onto the ball, Mark. I mean, it's all right to criticise Neil Jenkins, which I think everybody has been unfairly. The boy showed yesterday, although he'll be disappointed with his kicking game, but his running game, I thought was excellent. He passes the ball quite well. But the ball, he's having slow ball all the time.
Yeah.
If you watch all these other games, people are taking forwards out, scrum halves are whipping it away, outside halves have got to run onto the ball. And I'm sure if you watch him playing for Pontypridd, like I've done, he's a different man.
Well, he does, yeah,
and
sure.
I think they're filling his head full of too many things, and he's gone onto the field.
But David, if to pick up that point, if underlying everything that you're saying, you're suggesting that there's a lack of the instinctiveness that Wales always had, and the boys don't know what to do, when to do it, the right time.
I think they could help each other out, quite frankly. I mean, it's supporting the man with the ball. One of the biggest criticisms when I was a kid playing was that you made the half break and then you stood and watched everything happen. And then suddenly you realised you were 20 yards yourself away from the ball and you had to get back up there to support it. And what we don't do now, nobody helps him out at all. When he starts drifting across, as I said, because it's drifting attack now, we should have people, as Alan said, coming from the angle. People's got to make those angles. You must realise that you're suddenly running like shepherd with the sheep all going to the touchline. Come in off the touchline. There's nothing wrong in coming off and support the man. There was one instance there was Neil had made the break, made the pass to Nigel Davis. Nigel then took the players with him on the outside. Neil was still back on his inside, and if they'd have passed back inside, it meant all the cover would have gone across and we were running straight for the goal line. We don't do it. Scotland, when they scored their try, had 2-3 men, back row forward and a front row forward, in support of the second row, or number 8, who was actually scoring the try. We seem to be all at 6s and 7s right throughout the game as far as angles and as far as... it really was like painted by numbers. It really was, honestly.
All right, well, Alan, how much pressure is there now on Alan Davis to produce something in 2 weeks' time against Ireland?
Well, obviously there's pressure on. There's also pressure on the players. I'm sure when the 8 forwards look at their performance yesterday, they'll be disappointed. I mean, I would actually send him a video myself personally of the South Africa and Neath game to show him what commitment is all about. It's not about size, it's about commitment and art, and they didn't have it there yesterday. And I'm sure Alan Davis will be quite concerned about his position. Will he be able to lift them? I don't know, because yesterday they looked like a team that had no leadership at all on the field.
Where's that spark going to come from then, Mark, against Ireland?
Well, I mean, we've proved we've still got the players there. I mean, the backs, you know, showed plenty of glimpses yesterday of quality running. But I think David sort of hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's all about angles. And especially when Neil Jenkins is concerned, we want to be constructive in our criticism. But, you know, he's a very, very young man and he needs some help a little bit.
All right, lovely. Thanks very much, David, Alan and Mark. Well,